Hey everybody, Kat here. Welcome to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. I want to say welcome to all my new subscribers. It is Wednesday afternoon, and this morning, well, here in Ontario, this morning we saw the opening of the British Parliament, highlighted by the King's speech. And a couple of points on that is what I want to talk about today. Of course, if you like the pomp and ceremony and coaches and horses and glitter and all that is gold, and then, the robes and crowns of states, then the opening of Parliament is a big spectacle. Fun to watch if you've never seen it. It's quite interesting. There's a lot of, hundreds of years of tradition in the whole procedure, all the rigmarole until you get to the point of the King's speech. Now, what the King's speech is, the speech is his government, now, Keir Starmer, the Labour government, it is their plans for the future. The government's manifesto. Here's what we intend to do over the next little while, and they lay it out. And on behalf of his government, the King reads the speech. There was something like 30 new bills they want to introduce, like implementing a scaled smoking ban. There's all kinds of things, and of course lots of green initiative. Now here's the thing, this whole climate warning disaster, Green Goblin, Greta Thunberg religious zealots that are that are crazy, to be honest. But anyway, it's taken hold, and we're gonna look at that. There is one part of the speech where he's talking about where King Charles is talking about some new initiatives. And don't worry, I'm not gonna try to paraphrase. I actually wrote it down so we can quote this. Indeed, quote, "My government recognized the urgency of the global climate challenge, committed to a clean energy position. A bill will be introduced to set up, quote, Great British Energy, unquote, a publicly owned clean power company." I think it's going to be based in Scotland, which will help accelerate investment in renewable energy such as offshore wind. Now, this is where I'm going to stop because this is what I want to concentrate on. I've done a couple videos in the past about this whole wind field scheme that it was either last year or the year before. Anyway, the King has committed to using offshore land, seabed land, offshore of the coast to Cornwall, because of course as sovereign he owns the seabed and the coastline. And this was last year. This was with a previous government, the Conservative Party, where Charles and the government outlined this plan. This is not new. This is not Keir Starmer. It's not like I'm a green god and look what I'm going to do for you. No, this was already this has already been approved and in place. There's nothing to do with the standing government of the day. It's got everything to do with King Charles and the green agenda. Now, what's happening right now, there's wind farms along the coastline. Charles, as king, owns them. As it stands now, he gets 25% of the profits of these wind farms, right? As if he's not rich enough. Now, he has a scheme to expand it, and how the money's gonna move and everything. Because okay, here's the what he said to us last year. He's gonna expand it. He's gonna allow, over the next 5 years, so much more land to be dedicated, so much more seabed to be dedicated to offshore wind farms. And now this is going to be publicly funded, translation, taxpayer money, to build and set up these wind farms on seabed, which the king owns. But he's gonna do you a deal, Britain. He said that, even though he's getting 25% of the profits, he wants to give back to the people. So he's gonna take less than that. Though they've never clarified, is he gonna take 2% or is he gonna take 24%? That's not been clarified. Only thus that he would take less than the 25% that's owed to him as a term of the original deal. Right. And through some magic, the way he said it in the speech when he first announced it, the king, he said this is going to help everyone in Britain because this is going to put energy dollars back in the public's pocket. I'm afraid it's not so. The program is publicly funded. We now know that the governing body of this wind farm scheme is going to be called Great British Energy. We also know that whatever Charles' chunk of this umbrella company, just like his other schemes, programs, charities, and foundations and businesses, as king, he can bypass business regulation and business taxes. Sometimes his schemes are a private business, sometimes they're a foundation, sometimes they're depending on how he wants to work it, and he's king, so nobody says no. And this is another thing. This is just another one. He's showing us, he's doing it. He's setting up a shell corporation, Great British Energy, to move the money that's going to be made by expanding the offshore wind farms. And he's still profiting from it. And you know what? He's not putting his money into this to help the country. Oh no, it's publicly funded. That's your tax dollars at work. Whether you want these wind farms or not, it's money in Charles's pocket, indeed. And now let's just talk about green energy for a minute. Just my opinion, although there's backed up by lots of real science. I'm not even going to argue the climate change whole thing. Let's just stick to the topic at hand. Sometimes that's easier to be able to see, see the forest for the trees. Let's look at a tree. Let's look at a windmill. And let's look at an offshore windmill. The cost of building one of those suckers, the energy, electrical energy, produced through carbon fuel to build one of those suckers, let alone thousands of them. It's not clean energy. It's not clean energy. You need fossil fuel energy to be able to build the damn things, first of all, so they don't tell you that. So let's just say, well, it's, you know what, it's worth it if in the end it's going to provide what it says it's going to do, as Brits like to say, if it does what it says on the tin. And it doesn't. You know? You're relying on certain weather patterns. Weather changes. It's not climate change. I mean, good grief. For millennia, we've had 4 seasons. We've had hot days. We've had cold days. It's not because you own a cow or a barbecue or any, or a car. No. If you do the research and look at the real data from real scientists, all the so-called climate change, which is really differences in patterns in our weather, is due to activity on the sun and the changing nature of that activity, which, if you study this, is also affecting all the other planets. Their environments are changing. It's due to the sun. It is not due to anything here on Earth. Come on. It's just, let's get real. This is the whole catastrophic climate change religion bullshit that they're pushing down our throats, electricity this and windmill that. It has nothing to do about efficiency. It has nothing to do about saving the earth. It has nothing to do about, having a conscience. It is simply, it's couched in all of those things to play on people's emotions. But from the elite's point of view, such as the World Economic Forum, and we're going to get there in a minute, so I might as well start now. Their aim is to limit your resources, limit your rights and freedoms, limit your movements, limit your access. That's what it's all about. And things like these. Am I the only one that picked up he's saying this? He's saying these things. Oh, and the windmills, let alone, he's going to profit. It's a government scheme. They've slapped a name on the umbrella company that's going to funnel the money. It's a scheme. It has nothing to do with anything except a nod to the eco-freaks, a nod to the World Economic Forum. Charles is on board with all these green policies and implementing them, even though they don't work. Even though, electric bikes and electric scooters catch fire and blow up and kill people. Electric cars catch fire, blow up, and kill people. And if the battery ever goes, the resale on those cars is next to nothing now around the world because of the fact that the battery's going to cost you $6,000 to replace if it goes. Because it's rare mineral. You talk about, your ecological practices. To build one of those stinking cars, the rare earth minerals that they need for the batteries alone, that requires fossil fuels. That requires slave labor. There's nothing ecologically sound about electronic vehicles at all. Not to mention the fact that none of the governments, whether it's here in Canada or they're in Britain or wherever, they're saying, we're committed, we're going to refit all our car plants. And here in Ontario, there's a lot of them. We're going to refit all our car plants and only make electronic vehicles. Well, there's no infrastructure, first of all. There's not enough charging points. The fact that the vehicles are 3 times heavier than any other normal vehicle is going to cause problems on roads, bridges, parking garages, the whole thing. Because the engineering that went into those infrastructures is not the same that's needed with super heavy vehicles, right? So the infrastructure is going to break down even further. The whole thing about it is wrong. Back to the windmills where we started. Offshore windmills disturbs the migration of fish and sea life as well as seabirds and stuff. You care about the animals? Well, don't put up windmills, man. Don't put up a wind farm. Because you're going to devastate the ecosystem. Which, you know, they'll stop you from building a road because some toad in a creek and you don't want to disturb them. But, you know, they'll hinder progress for a toad. But when it comes to wind farms, they don't seem to even, nobody even mentions it. Where's PETA? I don't believe with those guys, but, you know, but still. No, it's because these green policies transcend politics. This particular instance is showing it because King Charles had this in mind before this government, who are now claiming this, you know. Nah, this was sent down from high above to implement. The World Economic Forum, which, by the way, the King and William are both members of and advocates for their policies, they, among others, are the elites that want to limit your resources, limit your freedom of movement, limit your rights and freedoms. I mean, the whole thing. It's a whole thing, and it's real. And Charles knows all about it, and William knows all about it. They know what's coming. They know what they're doing. These decisions and policies are put in place to put everybody that's in, you know, the Western world, to kick them back into a feudal state of being. And I would say you could argue today that there's aspects of living in Great Britain right now where the feudalism has never really gone away. And it's only ramping up. And in turn, this gives the monarchy even more power. It shows to us as well that when it's convenient for the monarchy, it's not his government's or his monarchy's government and he does what they say. And no. If the monarch wants it, the monarch gets it. And this is a perfect example of that. In fact, stating this in the King's speech, King Charles might have just been telling you, hey, I just gave myself a $20 million raise, guys. Thanks. Thanks to the taxpayer. Happy wind farms. That's what it's all about. It's scary. You don't want to believe it, but that's the truth, and that's where we're at, and that's just my opinion. I want to hear what you have to say. Keep it respectful. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.